everyone. Roman Shersher here, your #1 online resource for buying property. For those of you that don't know, I recently launched a program called House Buying Blueprint, where myself and industry professionals, colleagues that I work with, take you fully through the house buying process from A to Z, help you save money and buy your property right. The market's finally turning to the point where you can actually buy and have a buying advantage. And so you really want to use all the tools that you have at your disposal. We bought hundreds of properties, and we shed some light as to how the professionals buy properties on a volume basis. If you'd like to stay up to date on the latest updates, content, promotions that I have, make sure you follow my Instagram page at HB Blueprint, our Facebook page, House Buying Blueprint, our website, of course, where you'll find more about our course and how to access the weekly course and the programs and the tips and tricks on how you could save money, get that house correctly. And lastly, our YouTube page, where I post free weekly content. You're going to get a lot out of it. All right, weekly update. First of all, latest market statistics. So the February statistics came out, and single-family homes in the state of California are still trending down. The quantity of sales was down 5.6% in February of 2019 over 2018. So we're still seeing a lower volume of sales. Now, in previous months, we also saw an uptick in inventory, unsold inventory. That was flat in the month of February. It's still at 4.6 months. Also, the statewide median home price was down. It continued to trend down. If you remember, in January it was down. In February it was also down 0.6% from January, and year over year we're only up 2.2%, which you look at previous years, in many areas it was double digits per year. So that's kind of what's going on in the market. It's the volume of sales being stale also indicates that you see a lot more properties sitting for longer. And so although there's not a lot of new inventory that's come to the market, the inventory that's on there has sat longer, and those that are desperate or investors that have interest payments that they have to make monthly, they start lowering their prices. And also, as a buyer, you can now start taking advantage of some of the change in the market, where you have, where as opposed to in the past, 10, 15 offers on a property, it's hard to use your buyer techniques. Now you can actually take advantage of some of those techniques, turn the table and start using your own tips and tricks to get better pricing, better terms. It's not just price, it's also terms. And maybe just get more stuff out of the transaction that you wouldn't have been able to do when there was a lot of people that were making offers on the property, okay? We had an interesting week. We had a couple of interesting properties that we're working on. One property is out in the desert area around Palm Springs. We had one before. It was a triplex in La Quinta called in La Quinta. It was it's called Calle Chihuahua, which my escrow officer has 3 Chihuahuas, so it was her favorite property I think she's ever worked on. But this property is a cash cow. It's doing a lot of Airbnb, short-term rentals, and it's producing just an obscene amount of income. The price on it is going to be about $725,000. Last month alone, it booked over $7,500 in monthly revenue, and it wasn't even booked out the whole month. So when you're doing short-term rentals, it's a lot more stress on the property. It's a lot more work. It's much more of a tedious process. It's actually a business, an ongoing business that you're running to keep these units full all the time. But the revenue is just double what you would get if you had put a 1-year lease tenant in there. So, but we had another property in Rancho Mirage in one of the very prestigious areas there called Thunderbird Country Club. And this property is it's going to, after repair value, ARV, should be at around 1.75 million. So for that area, if it was here in LA, it would be a $5-6 million property in a very prestigious area, probably like Beverly Hills, Bel Air, by Bel Air Country Club, and so on. This property actually, literally, the backyard overlooks the golf course, and the house was done fairly well, and that's the problem. When you're dealing with high-end property, you need to be a professional. You cannot put medium grade materials into a high-end home. You cannot use a medium grade rehabber or contractor to do your high-end home. Your finishes and the buyers at that level, they demand a certain quality of construction. They demand a certain quality of lifestyle. Oftentimes, you see a lot of these properties here in Los Angeles in the highest price points selling for $100-250 million. They're coming with cars. They're coming with a fully furnished. You see some properties that come with their own helicopter on their own helicopter pad. These are the types of amenities and lifestyle that's being sold with these high-end homes. You cannot put Home Depot grade materials in a house like this. So we had a situation in this property where the contractor that they hired put medium grade, low-end materials, took the money, and now they're working with a property that the after repair value is not nearly what they needed it to be in order to sell it. And it just looks cheap. You needed to do more with this property. So we got it under contract at a very good price, at $1.3 million. And we're looking, I have a friend who got it under contract, and she is interested in either a JV or to assign the contract. She got it and/or assigns, which means that she can assign it to someone else legally. And she's asked for my help to assist her there. So this was bought right. This was contracted right by her. She now holds the cards. She is thinking about doing it herself. She wants to do it herself. Maybe bring in a JV partner to hedge the risk, because it's a high-priced property. Whenever you're dealing with high-priced properties or with lots of properties, for example, a 500-unit apartment complex, even a 100-unit apartment complex, the risk is substantial. And so what happens is typically people get together, joint venture, or do what's called syndication. We have multiple people putting in a certain amount of dollars into a project in order to take it down, along with government-backed financing. At least that's on the large unit plays, the commercial residential. So word to the wise, make sure that you're putting in the same materials in your property, whether it's your own purchase to live in, whether it's a purchase for renovation, rehab. Make sure you're putting the same grade property materials into that property, because even if it's for you and you want to save some money, when you go to resell that property, you're not going to get what the other comparable values are. Your property is not going to be worth as much as that neighboring property. And typically sellers always live in a little bit of a delusion in terms of they think that their property can set new high standards even next to a new construction build, or that it's worth the price of a new construction build in the area. Especially if you're not using the same materials. If you have older cabinets, or you use not custom cabinets in a high-end home, okay, your property is not going to value the same way. Okay, we dealt with another property this week, which was a very interesting situation. So I have a buyer, liked a house in Woodland Hills in a nice area. The purchase price was about $850, and it needed to be renovated. It was actually a property that needed a little bit of work. And so we saw it at one price. And we were given limited information. This was an off-market situation, so we didn't have everything that the MLS, multiple listing service, the online service would provide us. This was not on the market. If you come to me, I have access to some of the widest networks here, at least in Southern California, and I deal with a lot of off-market opportunities, which is why a lot of my buyers work with me. This property, however, had an interesting situation that I hadn't come across in a long time. It had a HERO program loan. Now, what is a HERO program loan? So, HERO program, it's a property assessed clean energy program, and what this is it started actually in Riverside in 2010. It's an energy efficiency financing program where you can get government-backed financing to make your property more energy efficient through solar, other renewable energy types of products for both home and business owners within certain communities. Now it's 2019. You can pretty much get it all over California and mostly almost every county. But what Hero does, it's a government loan program that finances about the whole cost to purchase and install eligible energy saving products. Okay, but what is interesting about this, the way that it finances it, it adds to your tax basis on the property. So every year over the next, let's say 20 years, it amortizes the cost of that loan over the next 20 years. Why this was interesting to us is it was not disclosed to us at the start. And when we found out that there was actually a Hero loan that went, and that loan, that program stays with the property. It doesn't stay with the owner because, of course, it's being, those energy efficient products are staying with the property. So that property will have a Hero loan attached to its title for the next 20, 30 years, and the taxes, the annual taxes will be increased. Now, as a rehabber, if someone that's going to take on a property like this, fix it up and then resell it, you don't want any negatives when you're reselling it. You want everyone to understand everything about the property. But if, let's say, someone's on a fixed income and can qualify for your property, and then you add $30,000 in loans over the next 20 years, and an extra $1,000 a month, extra $1,000 or more per month to taxes, that does quite a bit to qualifying for their loan. So this rehabber that I was representing and found this property for, he wanted to pay it off in order to be able to provide his buyer, whoever it is, after he does the project, a clean title and not with that tax hit. What that did was add another $30,000 to the purchase price. And to the cost, the renovation cost, he added, it was a cost basis. It was a cost to the cost basis of the property or the renovations, and it priced them out of purchasing this property. So interesting situation. Make sure that you're asking about whether there are any Hero loans on the properties that you're bidding on. All right, this is your weekly update. Once again, my name is Roman, your #1 online resource for buying property. We teach you how to buy it and buy it right, and then how to contract with the contractors to make sure that you have the right contract that'll penalize the contractor if they don't do it right, and protect yourself in the process. Follow me on Instagram, HB Blueprint. Follow my Facebook page. Check out our YouTube. I'm going to provide free content every week. We have very interesting stuff that we talk about every week on different properties because different situations come up every week. Thank you for following. This is your weekly update.